Hello everybody and welcome to the United Stand. Manchester United 1, West Ham 0. 3 massive points for Manchester United. Job well done. We won't remember this in a few weeks' time. I know it was a very different Manchester United to what we saw against Spurs and Chelsea, and you can delve into why that was. Why didn't we high press a team at home that's not as good as Spurs or Chelsea? But really, at the end of the day, the point is that we came out with a win and we had to defend a lot. And look, I do the chart show each Saturday where we rank Man United players from 1 to 10, and I couldn't put De Gea in last week, not because he'd been playing badly, because he'd had nothing to do. Today, he'll be back in that chart show next week. It was two world-class saves, which basically won us a point. Dalot won more defensive headers than Maguire on that back post, and Maguire won a lot. So Dalot and De Gea, for me, absolute standout players to get us that result today. But sometimes you're going to have days like that. Obviously, we want to play like we did against Spurs at home every week, but sometimes you've just got to defend it out. And I look at that league table, player ratings we'll do in a minute, but I just want to put that league table up there so you can see what's going on with Manchester United. Manchester United up into 5th place, 23 points, but we're only a point behind Newcastle and we're only 3 points behind Spurs, and they've both played a game more than us. I don't know how Spurs are where they are. They seem to lose every week, and yet they've got all those points. But we've put ourselves in a good position now. We're ahead of Chelsea, played the same amount of games, and we've got a good cushion on Liverpool of 7 points. So look, them top 4 hopes are looking good. They are looking good for Manchester United, but we've got 2 more games before the World Cup. Villa and Fulham, win both of those and put ourselves into a really strong position. I'm very happy with it, and we will do the play ratings and we'll go through the players individually. But can I just say, sometimes I see things said about our fan base and I think, what are they on about? But I've got to say it. I'm stunned and double stunned that we've won a game of football like that, backs to the wall, and people are talking about individual players being shit. And I'm like, do you actually support Manchester United, or are you actually just player driven? Because why can't you have a smile on your face on a Sunday night? West Ham will feel unlucky, but it's not like they missed a sitter. Defensive headers, defensive saves, blocks. We defended well. They probably should have scored, but they didn't because we defended or saved well. So we deserved to win that game. And I find it difficult when a team, you can only win those games if you're a team. We'd lose that game last year easily. We defended as a team, we worked hard as a team, and we won the game as a team. And I find it hard to fathom how people go on about individual players. 3 points. That's all I care about. 3 points and a Manchester United win. And I tell you what, I'm going to start on the positive as well. We've spoken about this a lot. Man United don't put enough crosses into the box. How many crosses did we put into the box today? I can think of 3. Fred hit the post. Rashford from Dalot headed it straight at the keeper. Eriksen, Rashford scored. We've scored 3 goals from 3 crosses in the last 3 games. Casemiro from Luke Shaw against Chelsea. Rashford from Luke Shaw on Thursday, and Rashford from Eriksen today. Also, Ronaldo got one, didn't he? I know he had to follow it in. So Man United are scoring goals from crosses, people. This is something we haven't been doing. It's almost like they've been listening or working on it. And I have been supporting Manchester United since I was a kid. And when you watch people like Ryan Giggs, Lee Sharp, David Beckham, Kanchelskis, Ronaldo, putting crosses into the box, Patrice Evra, Gary Neville, and people getting on the end of it. That's Man United. It's in our DNA. DNA. And I love it. I love the fact that we're putting some crosses into the box and scoring goals. And I love the fact that Ten Hag is the man who's bringing those crosses back as well. So that's my positive straight away. Absolutely loving the fact that we're scoring goals and putting crosses into the box. Really, really positive. Now, the second thing I want to talk about is, why did we play like that? Why did we play like that today? It wasn't normal, Manchester United. I thought home to West Ham, not a very good passing side. We'll press them high up the pitch, we'll suffocate them, and we might beat them 2 or 3-0. And we never did. We never approached the game in that way. We never wanted to commit. And you know when United are pressing, if you look back at that Spurs game, you've got your front 4, but then Fred was with Bruno and Casemiro was behind him. And the centre-backs and the full-backs were part of it. We didn't do that today. It wasn't Ten Hag wanting to do it and the players didn't want to do it. You could tell we weren't pressing like we did against Spurs because Eriksen didn't push on. He stayed with Casemiro a lot. So we tactically didn't do what we did against Spurs at home. And I would say there's probably two reasons for that. First of all, I think we're tired. I think it's starting to hit us now. We have had how many weeks? 3 or 4 weeks now of playing Thursday, Sunday. So I think we're tired. I don't think we could do it. And secondly, I think it might be the blueprint for what we're going to do against Sociedad on Thursday night. I think on Thursday, we're going to play the same. I think we're going to let them have the ball and look at hitting them on the break as they're the home side. So, or maybe we're conserving energy for Thursday night and we're going to try and press them there. But you probably can't do it twice in a week. Maybe that's what it's all about. But it worked. It did work. We weren't very good in the second half. We didn't create hardly anything in the second half. West Ham created way more. It was defence against attack in the second half. And I think possession-wise, we were at home. We had 54% possession. And West Ham are not a team that has loads of possession. So we were happy for West Ham to have the ball today. Ultimately, we scored our goal and we defended on it. And I think that was the plan. You look at the subs. You take Elanga off, you put Bruno to the wing, you bring McTominay on, you take Eriksen on, you bring Fred on. Our subs were McFred. You've got Sancho, you've got Donny, you've got Garnacho, and he goes for McFred. So I think today, Ten Hag did what sometimes you've got to do. He went, look, I want the clean sheet, I've got the goal, let's try and get a goal on the break, but ultimately let's not concede. And it could have, you know what, sometimes you've got to look at the flip side of the coin. I don't want to, but you have to. And you have to say, look, if De Gea doesn't make those 2 saves, or if the referee gives that free kick on the edge of the box, which he should have done. I don't know why he didn't when Maguire got nutmegged by Bowen. I don't think it was in the box, but it was on the edge of the box. If that's a free kick and they score from it, you suddenly sat here going 1-1. We didn't do enough to win the game. But the defence won us the game. And you know what it reminds me of? It reminds me of those 2 away games we had after... was it Brentford, where we played Leicester and Southampton away, and we won 1-0, and we built it off a team defensive display. Yes, we win, but let's be real. When McTominay and Fred entered, we dropped a whole level down. If West Ham weren't so poor, it was some better club, we wouldn't win this, says Zed. But you can only beat what's in front of you, Zed. You can't live your life going, if that was Man City, we'd have lost 3 or 4-0. Because maybe we would have played in a different way. You can only beat what's in front of you, and we had to win. I can sleep with a smile on my face. Chelsea and Tottenham, I smell blood. All that's left is for Hamilton to win his first race as Cads. It would be nice. Stephen Roos, thank you very much. Appreciate that for joining the members club. But I think, as well, we're going to do the player ratings in a minute, but there's a couple of things I wrote down that I wanted to just go through. I felt there was a lot of long balls in that game. I think we were hitting a lot of long balls. Now, I don't know whether that's because of the reintroduction of Maguire. The defensive line was deeper and there was a lot more long balls than we played with Varane. I hope this is not going to be... I hope it was just for one game only. Because I think the way that we've been playing, even with Lindelof, is we've been keeping the ball on the ground and moving it quick and playing a higher line and pressing higher up the pitch. And today I saw a lot of long balls, especially from Harry Maguire, whacking the ball into Ronaldo. And it worked. Like, Ronaldo would flick it on sometimes, but it's a 50-50. I want us to build up from the back like we have. I want us to go through the passing lanes into Casemiro, into Eriksen, into Bruno, get it wide. And I think in the second half, maybe it was from Ten Hag, but there was a lot of... Somebody said it on the watch-along in the first half. It was a bit like Ollie ball at times, and we were hitting the diagonal, and they were misplaced a lot of the time as well. So I did notice that, and I did notice we were a lot deeper, but I'm hoping it's just for one game, because we didn't deserve to win that game by any more than 1-0, did we? I mean, 1-0, that's a great result, but it wasn't like we could have won 3 or 4-0, and West Ham will feel that they could have got a draw. I think 1-0 was the right result, but it was a different Manchester United, and that's to be expected. That's the second thing I want to talk about as well. Ronaldo and Maguire were getting a lot of stick in the chat, and there's 2 things I want to say about that. First of all, on Harry Maguire, you're going to play different when you've got Maguire than when you've got Varane. He's slower, and he's not as good. So... And also, Martinez is starting his 3rd game with 3 different centre-backs. Chelsea, it was Varane. Sheriff, it was Lindelof. And today, it's Maguire. There's a bit of disruption at the back. And, that's to be normal. I think it's normal that the defence will change. Because it has changed. And it's how we adapt over the coming games. Because I think that's a great result for United. And I'm overjoyed by it. But if we play like that every week, then... we're going to take steps back, aren't we? We want to play like we did against Chelsea, like we did against Everton, like we did against Spurs. I want to see that Man United. And I can deal with the United today as a one-off, but I do agree with some of the negativity that if we play like that every week, we're going to struggle. So, we've got to be careful of that. And Ronaldo has to come into that equation, because some people said Ronaldo played bad. But do you not notice that Ronaldo occupies the centre-backs and frees up space for people like Rashford? And I think Antony would benefit from that. And we've done that without Antony today and without Lindelof as well. So, and still Varane's injured, Martial. So we've still got players that would come in. But I think that Rashford benefits so much from having Ronaldo up front. We saw it against Arsenal and we saw it today. They're so occupied with Ronaldo, it frees up Rashford to isolate the fullback and make those runs. Who starts instead of Bruno for Villa, says Oliver. I do want to talk about that. Really pleased with the win. Next door neighbours are West Ham fans. Elanga showed again that he's not up to the level. We'll talk about individuals in a minute, James. Thank you. Us getting top 4 at the end of the season may depend on scrappy wins in these kind of games. I agree, Chiri. I do. The players don't trust Maguire. Whole team has to compensate for him, says Alan. Was a great game, won by a great header. We had Liverpool and now you guys away, and we was in both games and didn't get battered. We have improved, says come on you Iron, says Daniel. Look, I think West Ham, if we've got any West Ham fans in the chat, I think you played well. I predicted this in our preview this week. Bruno's out of the Villa game. He's got a ban, says Dan. We'll come to that in a minute. But look, we can be respectful. We talk about referees a lot. I thought that ref was crap, but I thought he was in our favour, so I'd give him man of the match. He made some really weird decisions. He didn't want to book any of our players, and he did want to book West Ham players, and that I still don't understand how he doesn't give that foul on Bowen. Anybody can see that Bowen nutmegs Maguire, and then he's through. You've got to give the advantage to the attacker, and he gets taken out. So I don't know what the referee's thinking about there. But look, that wasn't a penalty anyway, and it didn't get given. Those things sort of happened. There was the ball when the ball went out with Declan Rice, it didn't go out. So there was a couple of things, but they weren't major decisions. I thought West Ham played well. I predicted in the preview that West Ham are a team that defend well but don't score enough goals. I think you've lost 5 games away from home, and you've only conceded 7 goals. So, you're not getting battered by anybody. Just missed a bit of a cutting edge. I was very impressed with Ben Rama. And I think it's interesting that Ben Rama played so well for West Ham. And who was he playing against? Delo, who was probably our man of the match. So it's very rare that you get the 2 man of the matches going head to head. So I thought Ben Rama played well. Maguire did okay. Martinez is the dream, says Andy. Welcome to the Members Club, Lee. And Roger says Delo and Shaw really good today. Yeah, so we're going to do the player ratings. Let's mark every player out of 10, 6 being the average. There was one other thing I wanted to talk about, though, before I do that. Confidence defensive line, we've done that, haven't we? Yeah, we were defensive today. I think we were quite defensive today, weren't we? I think we can acknowledge that we were quite a defensive Manchester United performance, but ultimately 3 points are what it's all about. I'd rather win that game 1-0 being a bit defensive than draw it 3-3 in a classic. We don't want that. A lot of people saying De Gea man of the match. I mean, I can sort of see what you're on about. I'm not going to give my man of the match straight away because I think I've got to think about it. But he was definitely an 8. 8.3 for you. I mean, the save from Zuma, I've played the game. I've done goalkeeping coaching when I was 18. I was coached. I wasn't a coach. I was coached myself. I played the game. I'm 18 and I've done the goalkeeping, all the angles and everything. So when I see a good save, and I think we all see it, but when I see a good save that maybe, and I'm going to speak to Ben Foster about this tomorrow about how good it is, he's at full stretch, that's when you know it's a good save. The keeper, his dive is full stretch, and the ball is moving quick, and he's basically got a full hand on it and clawed it out. It's such a good save from Zuma. I think the Declan Rice save's good. I think you'd expect to save that, but the Zuma one, world class. He also made a save from Bowen in the first half, which would have been offside, but it's still a save. There was that time in the first half where Maguire was way out of position and Ben Rama was going to be one-on-one and he's ran out the box. For me, I think De Gea's game was flawless today. And on top of that as well, there was the distribution, which we're actually just getting used to now. We're not panicking when De Gea gets the ball. There was a few times in the game where De Gea's getting the ball, West Ham are pressing, and as a team, we're playing through the press. So I think that De Gea today's got to be a consideration for man of the match because he's won us the game at the end. And I'm tempted to knock it up to a 9, and I'm going to. I think it was a match-winning performance. In fact, I think I've got to give him man of the match. The more I talk about it, the more I think it was fantastic. Didn't put a foot wrong. I think Luke Shaw is back to his best. Great short passing with good vision and delivery. So he's very consistent at the moment. Sia, he's very consistent. We got soft fixtures from now until halfway through the season. We need those wins, says GJ. Yeah, we do. Delo for me was an 8.5. You've given him an 8. I lost count of the amount of times Delo, and I want to go back to last season here, and Luke Shaw and Wan-Bissaka. How many times did we used to get caught out on the back post? All the time. Fullbacks getting sucked in, man free on the back post. It happened. I remember Brighton away in one game. It happened so many times. Delo today has always been a player that you'd say Delo going forwards better than Delo defensively. Today, his positional sense to win headers by flicking them away was remarkable. That's learnt. That's coaching. That's development. And it's another angle. I know Delo can whip across. I know his energy levels are fantastic. And I know he's improving this year visibly. But his defensive positioning on those headers was quite remarkable, consistent as well. He scored a header on Thursday and may as well have scored one tonight, because the amount of headers he won on the back post to flick it away from danger. I tell you what, Moyes would have been having kittens. He would. It was brilliant. Absolutely brilliant display by Delo. And if De Gea hadn't had the game he had, I think he would have been man of the match. For me, Maguire was a 6, and I'm glad to see everyone giving him a 6. I thought his passing was abysmal. I thought his heading was really good, which is what I would have started him for anyway. There's nobody else to start. Nobody else can start. So why is Maguire playing? Kick him out of the team is a nonsense, right? I don't agree with him being the captain. I don't think he is a captain, and I don't think he is the captain. I think other people are bigger leaders than him. But starting at centre-back today, yes, he had to do that. There was nobody else. And I think he should have started anyway, because we needed somebody good in the air. And I think in the last 20 minutes, he won a lot of headers and he grew into the game. First 70 minutes, he looked rusty. His passing was bad. He was diving into tackles. On a different day, he could have cost us, but he didn't, and we won. And he was part of that at the end. So I'm happy to give him a 6. He's got to build on that, though. He was rusty at times today. But look, it's his first game back. Maybe we can forgive him that. Martinez, for me, was an 8. I loved the fact that he got bounced by... I love the fact that he got bounced by Antonio, because that just shows that he's human. He's not undefeatable. But his aggression, his overall leadership, can I just say, normally I probably would have given Martinez a 7.5 like you have. But the reason I've given him an 8 is because I've played the game. And I'm telling you, when you've played 3 games in 8 days, it's tiring. But when you've played 3 games in 8 days with 3 different centre-backs, that's a real big head mess. You know, he's playing with Varane, one of the world's best centre-backs who's quick. He's out. He's playing with Lindelof, who's, probably 50-50 at everything. And then he's playing with Maguire, who's slow and not played in weeks, but he's good in the air. It's like 3 different things, and you've got to compensate for 3 different centre-backs. You know, when you play with Varane, you focus on your game. When you're playing with Lindelof, he has got weaknesses. You've got to help out. When you're playing with Maguire, he's got weaknesses. You've got to help out. So I think, you know what? And let's not forget, we've only conceded 1 goal in those 3 games. I think Martinez is, not only is he doing his own thing, but he's also... He's a leader. He's a leader, and I think it's absolutely fantastic. Absolutely fantastic. Apparently, I'm a hater because I gave Maguire 6. Maybe go and watch his game. Go and watch his game. His passing was abysmal. His tackling wasn't very good, but in the last 15 minutes, he won some really big headers. So I'm happy to give him an average 6. But if he hadn't have had the last 15 minutes he had, I probably would have given him a 5.5. But I watch the game how I do. I'm not giving out generous bloody better than average. I thought he was average, and average sometimes isn't terrible. But I don't think he had a good game. Do you want me to ignore the passing, ignore the late tackles, ignore the rustiness? I think he was average, and I think he's got to build on that, and I think he will build on that, because I think it's his first game back. You know. I think people who give him below a 6 are a bit unfair. Luke Shaw, for me, probably a 7. Yeah. And that's what I mean. Like, I gave Maguire a 6. You want me to give him a 7 and say that he played like Luke Shaw? I mean, there's context to what these player ratings are. Maguire's got to be a 6 if Luke Shaw is a 7, because Luke Shaw was way better than Maguire. Like, his passing was good. His energy was good. He's in the groove at the moment. Maguire needs more games. If he wants 7s and 8s, Maguire's going to have to grow on that performance. His passing needs to be quicker and better. His positional sense needs to be better. And his tackling needs to be better. His aerial ability has always been brilliant. But there's other aspects of his game that are a bit of a concern. And he's got to grow. Simple as that. Average 6. Yeah, but Luke Shaw's in the groove at the moment. So consistent. I don't think it was world class. I think he did misplace a few passes as well. I think everybody misplaced a few passes today, actually. I did notice that. But yeah, Bowen, I fancied him to win that battle against Bowen, and he did. Casemiro, again, a steady 7. Again, you know what? I don't think Casemiro was as good as he was against the last few games. I thought some of his passing was off. I thought a couple of his tackles were misplaced. But overall, it's Casemiro. And Casemiro on a 7 is still very, very good. I think what happened with a lot of our players today is that a lot of our players today are tired. A lot of our players today are playing a lot of games. And I think a lot of our players today are therefore, going through the motions of getting the result, definitely. So a 7 for me for Casemiro. Eriksen probably the same, even with the assist. I'd probably give him a 7. Obviously, again, I think Casemiro probably like Eriksen. They're playing a lot of football. Vash says Casemiro was not very good in the second half. I wouldn't disagree with you. I thought that Casemiro and Eriksen started to lose the midfield battle, but I think it's tiredness. And look, the thing I would say about Casemiro and Eriksen is, even if you don't think they played well in the second half, look what happens when McTominay and Fred come on. That midfield got annihilated in the last 10 minutes. Absolutely annihilated. So you can say that Casemiro and Eriksen weren't as good today, and I agree. But they're still levels above what McTominay and Fred can do. And having a midfield like that makes such a big difference to us. Because if we go back to McTominay and Fred, we're losing that game. So, yeah, big performance from him. What a cross by Eriksen as well. Bruno 6 for me. Look again. This is what I'm talking about. We're talking about Bruno Fernandes, who's been the captain and played really well in recent weeks. And you give him an average 6, and people think you're saying that he's shit. Like an average 6. You've got to get a 7 in a Man United shirt. You've got to do good. You can't just do average. And I think that, 6 from Bruno for me. I think it's. I don't think he was terrible, and I don't think he was brilliant. I thought it was just an average 6 by Bruno, and I think we're moving into that area of the pitch where it's understandable if Bruno gets a 6 because his defensive work was good, but attacking wise, we didn't really do much. So you're not going to see the 8s and the 9s that De Gea and Dalot got in the front 4 because we didn't really do much going forward. Casemiro needs someone with more legs next to him, says HKN. Elanga for me was a 5. I'm sorry. I like Elanga. I really do like him, but unfortunately, you look at what Garnacho did on Thursday and it was exciting. Every time I watch Elanga, I can't remember the last time Elanga was exciting. You bring Garnacho on, he's exciting. I can't remember the last time Elanga was exciting. Every time I see Elanga, I think he's out of his depth. And, I really like him, and I think there's something there, but not yet. Not yet. He needs to be in the Championship on loan at Birmingham or Reading or Coventry or somewhere like that, like Mejbri is, like Ahmad is. That's where Elanga should be. I feel sorry for Elanga because I think he's been over-promoted because we don't have enough cover. That he stays as cover, but he's not good enough for cover. And he can't deputise for Anthony. Like, he literally can't. You'd be better off putting Donny on the wing and doing what we used to do with Mata. We cannot use Elanga as that player. Nothing happens. Like, he's not strong enough. His passing's not good enough. He's not direct enough. He's just not ready. He's not ready. And I like him, but the honest answer is he's out of his depth and he's not ready. And unless something's going to go boom, I don't think he's ever going to be ready. He needs to be in the Championship playing every week. And then we'll find out whether he's going to be good enough. I literally think Mejbri could come in and play on the right, and it would probably be the same or better. So yeah, I don't think that the Elanga thing worked at all. I'd give him a 5. Rashford 7 for me, 7.1. That's absolutely fine. He faded in the second half, but I think so many of our players did. I mean, you look at the second half, Casemiro faded, Eriksen faded, Bruno faded, Ronaldo faded, Rashford faded. All played on Thursday, and I think they all faded big time. But the goal from Rashford's brilliant. I'm so impressed with the header. I was impressed with the header on Thursday night. 2 headers in 2 games. After 4 games where he's missed so many sitters, smile on his face, smile on Ronaldo's face. I think Rashford benefits from Ronaldo at number 9 because I think Ronaldo occupies people, and I think Rashford gets a bit more space. And I think that this is another example of development. Now, whether it's Benny McCarthy or whether it's Ten Hag or whether it's Rashford or whether it's a combination of all of it, where's Rashford suddenly getting aerial ability from? Where's Rashford suddenly getting this movement from? It's development. It's hard work. And we mentioned this in the summer and we said some of those players last season probably deserved to be sold. They were dreadful. And they needed to go away in the summer, look in the mirror, take a long, hard look at themselves and blame themselves and improve themselves. And I think some of them have. And I think that Rashford has done something in the last 2 games that I haven't seen him do. And that's keep his eyes open, make good movement in the box and get a good leap and get a good header. I think it's I think you know, credit to him. And 100% I'll call it out when we're right, and many of you agreed with me on this. Rashford's better off the left. He's not a striker. He's better off the left. He can do a job, but he's better on the left. Misplaced passes could have cost us on another day. Don't think Ten Hag will leave this. Think Bruno should have been sub for Donny. Better retention, says Vicky. Oh, I just want to talk about that. The substitutes. I want to talk about who replaces Bruno next. Actually, we'll do that in a minute. Let's finish the player ratings. Then we'll talk about who replaces Donny and who replaces Bruno and the subs. Ronaldo 6. Yeah, 6 for Ronaldo today. If he scores a goal, he has a good game. He didn't score a goal. There wasn't a lot going on. I can't remember a clear-cut chance. There was a couple of times where he's shooting from silly areas. I mean, he can score from there. But his work rate was good. But yeah, it wasn't Ronaldo's best game. It was an average 6. McTominay, probably a 6, to be fair. I mean, yeah, just average, wasn't it? Same for Fred. Nearly scored, but yeah. And then Ten Hag, you know what? Today, I think I know what he was trying to do. So, yeah, I agree. 6.8, 7. It wasn't pretty. And it's sometimes difficult to analyse a game like that. It's sometimes difficult to... Casemiro needs something done that from HKN. Mark, let's be serious for a moment. Apart from the first 5 and 10 minutes versus West Ham, we were outplayed and outworked. Compare Arsenal to us. It's day and night, says Jack Hammer. And David De Gea proved class is permanent on the day where Dino shipped 5 to Arsenal, says Muyad. Mark, how do you love what you're doing? Please rate from 1 to 10. It's tied to 7. I completely agree with that comment, by the way, about on another day we could have lost the game. And that's why it's interesting to give Ten Hag a 7. And I'll explain why. Because really, if David De Gea doesn't save the Zuma one, no one's going to blame him. If West Ham score a goal in the second half, no one's going to say it wasn't coming. And then we draw and drop 2 points and it's not a good result. And everyone's probably giving Ten Hag a 5 for playing so defensive. But we didn't draw. We won. And I think the result was by design. For whatever reason, Ten Hag decided we were going to have 50% possession and decided we were going to play organised defensive football with a bit of a counter. Complete contrast to what we did at Stamford Bridge and at home to Spurs. But it was by design, and you could tell it was by design because the players didn't replicate what we did against Chelsea and Spurs by pressing high up the pitch. Now, some people will say we did that because we've got Harry Maguire in the team and we can't do it. Well, we'll find out over the next few weeks. I disagree. I think we still can press teams high up the pitch with Maguire, but maybe that was the reason. Maybe it was tiredness. We've played so many games. We've been playing every 3 or 4 days for weeks. I think that's probably a reason. Maybe it's because we've got a massive game on Thursday and he wanted to conserve energy. Maybe it's a blueprint for Thursday and he wanted to try it out. But I definitely think it was by design. And I think it was by design because Ten Hag would have tried to change things in a different way if it wasn't. If he wanted us to get on the ball and dominate possession, he would have brought Donny on. He would have brought Sancho on, not Eriksen or Fred. McTominay and Fred. And that's why I give Ten Hag a 7, because we did win the game 1-0, and I think he wanted to win the game 1-0 with a bit of a defensive counter-attacking display. And anybody who disagrees with that, I think 100%, the fact that he brought McTominay and Fred on showed that he had a defensive mindset. So therefore, I'm going to give him a 7, because I think he got the result he designed. So that's why we give it him. Whether you like it or not. Man of the match, David De Gea, 56%. Make sure you give him a like on the video there. David De Gea, man of the match. 100% agree with you. However, 29% of you did go with Dalot. Dalot got 29% of the vote. I can tell you, in 4th place, Harry Maguire got 4%. So, you know, some people even voted for Harry Maguire as man of the match. So there you go. But man of the match was David De Gea, of course. Which leads me to the one question I want to talk about. We're moving on to Sociedad now, of course. But Bruno Fernandes will miss the game against Aston Villa next Sunday. He's picked up 5 yellow cards. I would ask the question why our number 10 has picked up 5 yellow cards and we're only at the end of October. I would always understand Scott McTominay doing that, but I don't understand why Bruno Fernandes has picked up so many yellow cards. But it is what it is. It is what it is. So, who replaces Bruno next week against Aston Villa? And I think it's at home. Someone in the chat let me know. I think it'll be McTominay. I think the substitutes today, whether people like it or not, evidences the fact that it is still McTominay and Fred ahead of Donny, even with Ten Hag as coach. I think Donny at the moment is 3rd choice sub. And I don't think that's going to change. Now, for me, I'd pick Casemiro, Eriksen and Donny, because Donny's an attacking number 10. I think it's 100% Donny. It's away from home as well. So I don't think Donny will start. But I think Donny should start that game. Donny van der Beek as the number 10 with Eriksen and Casemiro is what I would do. But I think we saw today the substitutes were defensive. And I think McTominay came on because he wanted to be defensive. But I'd still think he'll probably go for McTominay. And maybe play Eriksen as the 10. So, look, it's an opportunity for Donny. It is, but I don't know that he'll actually do it, if I'm completely honest with you. But, you know, we will see. We will see what happens with that. Please do subscribe to the channel, by the way. Bottom right-hand corner to do it. Manchester United have won this game 1-0, and David De Gea is your man of the match. Ultimately, I'm very, very happy. I think that 3 points is what it's all about. I predicted 2-0. And I will be respectful to the fact that I think that West Ham played exactly how I thought they would. I think that they defended well. They don't concede many goals, but they don't score many goals. And ultimately, that was to our benefit. We got our big chance and we took it. And you know what? Where was the other big chances for Manchester United? Where were they? It was a tight game and we won it. And I'm happy. And we move on to a huge... I'm so excited about Sociedad as well. I'm so excited about that. And there are positives, and I think even the negatives are positives. I mean, some people weren't happy with Ronaldo. I think he does a job and frees up Rashford. And some people weren't happy with Maguire, and I think, well, there was nobody else, and we didn't lose. So, look, let's see if we can grow on that. Let's get over to the fan forum. Dave saves in the live chat. Let's spam them, and I'll see you over there in a minute.